Welcome everyone to the Power Lunch, brought to you by Meshworks and powered by Rive. So the Power Lunch is a series aimed at emerging creators wanting to break into the industry. We've all looked at job descriptions and felt out of depth and unsure whether to apply. So today we're seeking to learn from the source and open up the recruitment process a little. So while we're talking, you can ask questions in the live chat box. The panelists, Elaine and Duncan, are here to answer them live, which is super exciting. So my name is Scarlett Smythe. I'm a Bristol-based creative producer, as well as an artist and poet. I'm currently working for Creative Youth Network as an assistant creative director on a social action through art project. Today, I'll be hosting conversations with Elaine Williams, EA to the CEO from Icon Films, and Duncan Fraser, who is head of production at A Productions. So I'll just give you a little bit of information about the companies and how they would usually typically recruit. Icon Films is a Bristol-based award-winning production company who deliver high-end factual content for the UK and international market. They typically recruit through posting job advertisements, sending emails to individuals, and updates of live jobs. And they encourage cover letters to ensure that individual personalities can come through on applications. A Productions is a Bristol-based independent production studio who are known for animation production for film and television, and they typically recruit through their website and social media, so Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and also reach out to previous employees. So if we can just kick it off with the first question, where do you share job opportunities to ensure that there's a diverse audience who find these vacancies?
We have a standard list of places we advertise to stop us going to Talent Manager and our website and leaving it at that. So we will typically go to organisations such as Babasa, and then we have other sources on our list, such as Ajima Radio, we would speak to advertise, Rife Magazine. As I say, we have that standard list that we would go to. But I think I like to freshly think for every recruitment, and I will have a look at Facebook and see what related groups there are that might feed in. And I generally keep my eyes open for new places that might get my job ad in front of a different audience.
What tends to happen is we focus on trying to broaden our search for talent, but we end up with suddenly becoming very, very busy and needing to get people quickly. So we just reach out to people that we've used before. So we use our website, we use LinkedIn, we use Facebook, and we use an existing network of freelancers that we already have. More recently, though, we've tried to really improve that, and we've started. We started a project called Jojo and Gran Gran, which is a Black British family animation. So we needed to make sure that we were getting an authentic voice for that. So we made a lot more effort, and we also reached out to a lot of Black-led organisations across the city and across nationally and even internationally to actually see if they could help us get our message out to the right places further. For that, we also took on an apprentice scheme that was run by Visualizer, which was a Bristol Media and Bristol Council, I think, based thing. And when we were recruiting for that, we organised some workshops at Babasa and at St Paul's Media Centre, I think it's called. So we did workshops there to go out and meet people and get the message out face to face and show them what we did and see if we could generate any interest that way. We're trying to get better, basically, and I think we are. I think we're doing quite well. My personal goal is to try and structure that more so that it becomes routine, so that we don't accidentally fall back into our old habits of just going around everyone we know.
I actually got into TV myself through a scheme, so I'm sort of used to that sort of process. But it would be nice if it was a lot more open, and an easier path to get into for young people and emerging creatives as well, that you don't have to go through like a scheme to be able to work in the industry. So in terms of accessibility within the kind of recruitment process, how would you ensure that the language you use, like within applications and things like that, is accessible? How do you allow applicants to apply for roles in varied ways? So I was thinking about this question, and I just wondered, with different like accessibility needs, do you do like video applications, or do you do like voice applications or anything like that? It'd just be good to hear if you've thought of like different ways of approaching that as well.
That's a good question, Scarlett, and I will confess that I don't think there is any provision. So we always ask for a covering letter and CV, and have no other. Nothing else to offer for somebody to apply in a different way. Absolutely would be really willing to have a look at that and see what other options are out there that we can use to give people that may not be able to apply in that way a different option. I mean, this is the first time I've thought of it, to be honest, so feel a bit exposed, but really willing to listen and learn and hear new ways of so we can offer different ways to apply.
Thank you so much, Elaine. And I mean, it's not about the past as well. It's about looking forwards and seeing new ways of doing things, and I guess just being open to different recruitment processes. And I think especially like in the film like sector and TV, it would be amazing for people to be able to send in videos and like be able to make that into their own like identity, and as well, kind of that will showcase them even more, I guess.
Obviously with our creative talent, we always ask for a show reel, so we don't really pay too much attention to the written application, to be honest. We do ask for a cover letter and we do ask for a CV, but the first thing I would look at is the show reel. So if the show reel is good, then I would look at the CV and see what the kind of maybe the experience level was. But that would be secondary to to the quality of their work for the actual creative team that we'd need to recruit. Another thing I think would be useful, which we were considering, haven't done yet, but we think opening up a kind of Q&A, an open forum kind of Q&A thing for any posts we advertise, to allow people to put their question to us, and then we'd publish that so people who hadn't been able to attend would be able to see it. I think that would be a really useful thing to do, because there may be a lot of questions that people that they need to ask and they may not feel they can. I mean, we're always actually very open to people sending us direct questions, but I don't know if we make that clear on the application, on the job adverts. So that would be a good thing to do, is say, please do email with any questions. Lots of people do, but that's the people that maybe have the confidence to do that, and maybe the others don't. So I think it'd be nice if we made that an open process.
Also, in terms of what you said about like the show reel being really important, because that's sort of how you like recruit, essentially, is seeing what people's work is like and the standard and quality. I'm just thinking about emerging artists who might not necessarily have kind of the perfect show reel, or not be that great at writing, to do an application and things like that. And I just wondered if you've got sort of transferable skills that aren't kind of, you haven't worked in film or TV or animation for years and you haven't had that experience. Do you pick that up in the applications and sort of think about how you could make that work, as like a package that isn't like, a rounded finished product and someone who's ready to go? Do you consider applicants who have maybe the skills there, but kind of haven't got that background?
Yeah, it's very difficult because a lot of the time, as I said before, we need to crew up really fast, and we don't have, our budgets there's not a lot of margins in the budgets for a lead-in time or a kind of development or training time. So we have to find people that are ready to go, basically, and they're quite specific skills, a lot of these, which is what I think makes it very difficult to get into, because if you haven't trained in those specific skills, then we don't, we can't hire you. However, when we have bigger productions and more work, we always include junior positions. So those are the kind of places that we can look at the wider scope of the applicant and not be so concerned. We don't need them to know the specific software, but if they have a talent, you can see they've got a talent for storytelling or acting or any of those things, we would very much be interested in looking at them and kind of helping them to develop that. It's limited amount though, because we need a team of qualified people, and then we can fit in one or two juniors on each part of the production. There's various parts of the productions. That's, I think, where you get into sort of internships and apprenticeships, which is what we try to do all the time and are constantly renewing. And all of our a lot of our interns and apprentices have moved on to full-time roles, which is really good, really positive for us and for them.
So I am not looking for a fully rounded creative filmmaking professional, but all of my job descriptions will ask for a passion for TV and film. And I need that to be evidenced. So you can't say I have a passion for TV and that's the end of that sentence. I need to see that. So there needs to have been some sort of investment from the person applying of their time and energy to demonstrate that passion. So there will be, even if it's a film that you've been making with your friends on your phone, you don't need to have been camping in Africa to film chimpanzees, or you don't need to have had that sort of experience. It can just be sort of any level of commitment and ambition that you've shown to filmmaking and passion for film. So there needs to be that on your application. And absolutely, I need the person that I hire to be able to be an office runner. So if you've just been making films, honestly, I'm going to be a bit nervous about whether you can turn up at a certain time every single day, work really hard on sometimes mundane and domestic tasks. I also want to see evidence of what I call a normal job, because I need to be really secure in knowing that you can do all of those mundane domestic things, because I rely on this person to be able to fulfill that. So I'm kind of looking for both of those sides. I'm looking for evidence of a talent and storytelling talent and all the rest of the filmmaking part. But I also want what we're calling the transferable skills. I also want evidence of that so that I can feel really confident that this person can do this job now, this office runner job, and that they're going to go on and be able to grow up either within Icon or within another film production company or whatever, and fulfill their ambition as well.
Just listening to Elaine, we were talking, when I was talking, only about the kind of specific creative talent, but there's obviously the production management side in our company as well, which that would be much more open to applicants from all kinds of different backgrounds and different employment backgrounds. Like Elaine says, definitely you want to see that sort of evidence of having a proper job at some point. That route in is much more. It's a wider catchment, I suppose. And we have had people that have come in through that route, but they very much want to be in the creative side as well. And they'll eventually show us how creative they can be, and we'll then help them develop through that way. So that is as another route, is if you're happy to come in and just be a file manager or something, which may not sound very glamorous at the time, but it's a way into the industry. And once you're in the business, you're among the people and you're working with the creative people, and you can find your way there. So that's something that shouldn't really be forgotten about.
Something else that occurred to me when you were talking earlier about the covering letter that comes into us with the application, and you talked about whether the writing's perfect, and I think on that, again, I would say, again, I'm not looking for pristine English or like professional level copywriting talent. I'm looking for some personality. Often, we know a CV is quite a dry document and doesn't really tell you anything much about the person. And so the first place I go is the covering letter, and I read this and think, can I see a little bit who this person is? And I think for a young applicant, putting quite a lot of effort into that part of the application is really important. It's where I go to straight away, just to see if I can get a little bit of a glimpse and a feel of who this person is, and if I'm excited to meet them, apart from anything else.
Yeah, you can get a real sense of how passionate someone is, I think, from a cover letter, can't you? And I think that would, if someone did a video or a voice clip, I think that would come across even more as well, because it is hard to pick up the personality and sort of emotion from writing. So I think that would really excel that and push that as well. And I like what you said, Duncan, about kind of, even if you want to come in just doing files, sometimes actually working in those roles are the best roles to have, because you're meeting people, you're chatting to people and seeing what their roles are. And if actually you feel like that's something you want to do, and maybe there's a role that you come across that actually, you didn't even know existed, which is kind of, how it usually happens. That's what I found, myself anyway. So we're talking about recruitment and kind of, people getting through and some people not getting through. So with applications, some people won't be successful. So I just wanted to ask you guys, kind of, if someone isn't successful, do you have anything in place to support those people, or are you in contact with those people, or do you keep the CVs on file, and do you get back in touch, or how does that work?
For example, this recruitment that I just did, we had over 150 applicants. And so at that stage, it's really difficult, just capacity-wise, to be able to give anything to those people that don't get shortlisted. But for the people that were interviewed, at least, we put a lot of effort into trying to give them some meaningful feedback. Sometimes that might be a little bit difficult if there's certain parts of the interview that you thought, oh, please don't say that. But I will pass it on so that they know for next time. Then there are other people, again, thinking of this example of the recruitment I just did, where you can, somebody is great and you can see some obvious things that they could do, or obvious to us, to bump themselves up for the next time. So if there are places we can signpost people to, people we can put them in touch with, then absolutely we'll take the time to do that. I mean, from a selfish point of view as well, then that's somebody potentially in our pipeline that, might be able to go to next time. So yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't leave them hanging, and try to give something for them to work on for next time, or things to improve on. And that would just be at interview stage, I would say.
I think that's really good that you're giving feedback as well, and sort of taking the time out to do that, because it's so hard when you do apply and you have no idea why you didn't get something, and it is so deflating and exhausting to keep going for things and not quite get there.
Likewise, we don't have time to give feedback to everyone that applies, but we have recently hired a welfare and HR manager. And she is very keen to make sure we do give feedback where it's asked for, and certainly we would reply to everyone and let them know whether they've been successful or otherwise. And if they then ask us for feedback, she will, our HR manager will chase around the department heads and find out, try and get a good bit of feedback or reasoning. Or normally we're all very busy and we sort of say, but she'll insist that we give some feedback. So that's a new thing for us, and I think it's a good thing. It keeps it structured again and makes sure that we are doing that. I mean, a lot of the artists who apply to us have a specific skill set, and so it may not be right for that project, for that exact project. Very recently, we've been recruiting for a particular project, and we've seen lots of talented applications, but they're not really what we need for that particular project. Even if it's just a particular software they don't know and others do. I feel like those people are probably quite experienced as freelancers, and they're used to kind of going from company to company. Again, if they ask for feedback, we'll certainly give it. And after an interview, we'll always give feedback as well, but not just on a straight up application, because we have too many normally. So yes, we are always available to give feedback if it's required, if it's requested.
I think it's good that you've got someone who's dedicated to persisting, and doing that, because it is easy to just sort of, I haven't got time, I've got to go to a meeting, and that's really good that you do that. I wonder if there's a way of kind of, and I don't know the answer to this, but if there's a way of sort of capturing those people and kind of having a group or something where they can connect and kind of, maybe you can dip into that as well as sort of like a resource to find people or something. I don't know. I
mean, there are a lot of freelance animation groups on Facebook and on social media, which I think that's where people, and animation, I don't know about live action film, but it's a pretty small industry. Most people know who's hiring and who's not hiring, and who's going where and what's happening most of the time. Within, that's one of the problems, I guess, is that it is that kind of almost a closed group. If you're standing on the outside of it, it must look very difficult to get into.
It's also hard if you've not sort of been brought up with kind of a wealth of knowledge of, different roles in jobs, and especially like myself, like with animation, I had no idea what went on behind closed doors, and I've always been really interested in animation myself, but I think it's knowing what role you can do, like what things suit you as a person, and kind of where you can go with that as well. That's sometimes really difficult. Obviously, you're both in different areas within the creative industry, but still under one sort of umbrella. But it's great to hear how sort of broad that goes for people to be able to apply in things, and also just how open you are to change is really refreshing to hear as well, that you are like moving with the times and kind of open to change as well. So I just want to say a massive thank you both so much for coming on. It's been really great to have a chat with you and to understand more about the recruitment process for people. So hopefully we've given a little bit of a gist of what it's like to apply, and hopefully more people will apply and find it a little bit more easy, I guess, to do that and be able to reach out and ask questions as well. The question from today's panel will be collated in the comments section below. For those of you who couldn't come along today, you can catch up on these too. So the next episodes that are coming up in the Power Lunch series will explore journalism and writing, marketing, branding and social media, and they'll be every Thursday at 1. So I just want to say thank you so much, viewers, for tuning in and listening, and hopefully it's been really helpful, and hope to see you soon.